So, American Payment Solutions is one of the leaders for credit card processing in the Sage space. Up and coming market share. They've got companies in a number of different industries using their credit card processing solution. They have become the endorsed merchant solutions provider for many restaurants, hospitality, and software companies through the US and Canada. And if you're looking to reduce your credit card processing rates, you really should talk with Patty Benitez and see if you can spend less on credit card processing fees with a more secure merchant services provider. And then we have One Software Solution, who is the leader in Sage 100 for warehouse management applications. They've been doing this since 1989, and they just meet the needs of thousands of distribution and manufacturing companies. Sage 100 is a market leader in the mid-market ERP space. Their solution runs on iOS, Androids, and Windows applications. And with that said, I'm going to go ahead and let Ross get started. Ross, I'm going to hand over the presentation to you.
Awesome. Well, thank you for the red carpet introduction. I do appreciate that.
It's my pleasure.
I feel so special. So, well, well, listen, hey, I really appreciate everyone's time today. I think, both Adrian, Patty, and myself, time is precious. So I know we're all busy, especially this time of year, getting things in before the holidays and into year. So, so with that said, we're in agreement that even though we blocked off an hour, I think we pride ourselves on being timely, and we'll get you in and out of here in under an hour is our goal today. So with that said, I'll just have to not talk as much as I like to hear myself talk sometimes. So anyway, so we're going to begin. We're introduced as One Software Solution. So I'll explain that in just a few moments. But today we're really going to focus on how to make your warehouse a better warehouse, right? And today's main focus is automating the picking and packing process, right? So once that order is taken and the credit card is processed and the sales order is created in Sage, then what, right? So that's where that is an open door that a lot of mistakes and errors can happen. And so we're here to kind of help prevent that and lead you into a better path and a better way of thinking. So today's kind of agenda, 5 main points is we're going to talk a little bit about what is One Software, right? Next on the list, we're going to talk about strengthening supplier relationship. In this case, you are the supplier, right? So, how we can make our end users experience, the one that are really, keeping the lights on, a better experience and to keep them coming back more and more. Next, we're going to talk about how our product in general seamlessly integrates into Sage 100 through not only the shipping side, but receiving, et cetera. Next, we're going to talk about how to reduce time and error in shipping. So that's where we're going to actually talk about the different ways to process a shipment or a sales order once it's now in the queue. And then after that, we're going to talk about not only how to process it, but how real-time it can really be, and not just the shipping side, but entire inventory management as a whole. So let's talk about what is One Software Solution. So we started our unique partnership a few years back, and it was a joint partnership between ACS Multi-Bin, Scanco for warehouse automation, and then JDB Solutions, which is now recently acquired as of July by Scanco. So now it's Scanco Warehousing Distribution and Scanco Manufacturing. So what are these things and how do they all tie together? Well, let's talk about the distribution standpoint, right? So Scanco itself, from a software perspective, offers several different ways to help automate your warehousing process, not only from an accounts perspective, right, where we have a physical account only thing, application, which allows users to kind of get their foot in the door of a true WMS system. But then we like to kind of blossom it from there, right? We not only have a standard warehouse solution, which covers, your basic needs, right, from shipping to receiving to transfers, but then we kind of take it to a whole new level with an enterprise option. And we're going to, when we get into the shipping, we'll talk about some of those options. But this is everything from advanced shipping from a pick and pack standpoint to processing bill of materials, RMAs, pack slips, many types of different options, right? And then from a manufacturing perspective, what do we have there? Well, we work with work order and job ops, and so that's WO scan, and we have JO scan, right? So again, from made to order to made to stock, however you want to rein it, is we have a manufacturing perspective, right? So we can truly automate that. So if we're going to be automating distribution and you're doing manufacturing, why not kind of combine all those together? And those are different modules. So WO scan is work order, JO is job ops, and then X scan is one of our newest products. And the X scan is a iOS-based version for work order, right? And so all those things are great, but how do we really tie that together and to make a really efficient warehouse product, right? So Scanco's goal, along with ACS, is not just to help efficiently ship product better, but to really track your product from, I want to say entry to exit, but it's before the entry. It's when the actual order to your vendor's processed, right? So we can even track an order when it's on a container on the ocean coming from, China or from overseas, wherever, to your hub to get entered in, and then the goods tracked from there, right? So if we're going to automate the shipping process, why not automate everything else, right? So we've kind of take customers back from the brink and bring them into a truly efficient WMS system. And multi-bin is great because it ties all that together, because not only does it let you track things from a little individual bin perspective, right? So before you'd have an item in a warehouse, great. But how about we drill that warehouse down into tiny little bins, to where an item comes into receiving, goes into its primary bin, lot expiration, serial tracking, we do it all. And so that it's tied into one nice, neat little, what we call a tailored fit package to meet your company's needs. So let's talk a little bit about, okay, great, we have this great WMS system, but how can we strengthen our supplier relations, right? So how can we be a better supplier to our customers? Well, first is, the first step is admittance, right? Admittance is the first step to recovery. So we have to acknowledge past discrepancies. We have to acknowledge that there's a problem, right? Well, what are those problems? Were they mispicks? Were they misships? Were they just not knowing where your product is? We've had companies that were literally doing warehouse transfers with Post-it notes, no joke. So, those are not really efficient things. You just can't write, you just can't take product from someplace, put a little IOU note, and hope someone reads it and hope someone knows that you took the product. It's just not very efficient, because when it comes time to find that product, it's not there. And then you have to backtrack, and then that's overtime, that's labor, that's losing money to customers. I have many customers that if they don't ship out a timely product, they get fined, right? And those fines build up and up and up, and then you're in the tens of thousands of dollars, and then it's just not working, right? So once you acknowledge there's discrepancies and there's a problem, well, let's find the source of the problem, and a lot of that comes down to the warehousing, and sometimes it's entered in wrong or shipped wrong. So you kind of have to backtrack, do a lot of in-depth thinking of how that problem is, and we help solve those issues, right? So now let's say that we've acknowledged it, we found the source of the problem. Well, how do we implement those corrective actions? And so that's taking the WMS system and adding the multi-bin perspective. If you're doing manufacturing, let's take manufacturing to a true automated process that just doesn't have you writing things down on pen and paper, right? And the same thing goes with the distribution side, right? Instead of writing things down on pen and paper and handing it in and hoping someone can read that handwriting or enter it in wrong, we're taking care of it then. Scanco as a whole, or one, we really pride ourselves on accuracy and efficiency, right? Remember, it's the tortoise that won the race, not the hare. So doing things faster doesn't always mean better, especially if you have to go back and continually fix those things. And so once we have all that in place, great. Well, now you have to kind of keep track of making sure that you stay on track and you don't go back to the wayward ways of doing things manually and incorrect, right? So we offer a true monitoring process that lets you not only monitor, but maintain those actions. And then it becomes kind of second nature. So moving on, okay, great. So we've now acknowledged those things, we've implemented it. Well, I did mention earlier that we are a real-time solution. So what does that mean exactly? Well, Scanco, along with ACS, seamlessly integrates in a Sage 100, right? So we truly extend that functionality without really modifying much of your process, right? So the day-to-day things that are in Sage still stay in Sage, right? So you create a purchase order, you have inventory, you have your bin set up, you have your sales orders. Well, through the beauty of the barcode module, which is the standard module of Sage that you acquire when you want to automate, we integrate directly through that. So it truly is real time. So once a PO is created, we instantaneously can see it on the ScanCo distribution side, right? Once you bring a new product in and once you create a bin for it, automatically appears there. If you're doing a transfer of goods from one location to another, warehouses, bins, whatever, we automatically see it. If you're in the middle of a shipment and the customer calls in and you have, so accounting has to add something to that sales order, immediately it can be seen on the handheld, right? And so now that we've done, there's the 3 C's when it comes to the automating, the seamless functionality. There's the creation, so creating the order inside of Sage. There's the collection of ScanCo, which we collect and validate in real time. And there's the commitment process, right? We commit it back inside of Sage. And once it's committed, it's then ready to be posted, updated, all right then and there, so with never having to write things down again. It's quite nice. So your accounting department, at the end of the day, won't be so much cross-eyed and have carpal tunnel with all the typing they're having to do. So it's much appreciated on all ends. So now we have that seamless integration. Let's talk about what we really want to do today is talking about shipping accuracy, right? So a sales order is created. Great. You have your money from your customer. Great. Well, let's talk about if you're a manufacturer, right? Well, we know that once a sales order is created, it can auto-generate finished goods directly from a sales order. So whether you're doing made to order for your customers or you're bringing product in that's made to stock, right? You can generate all that. You can have travelers. You can have material issues, labor transactions. All that can be automated and scanned in every step of the way because a true WMS system will let you touch the product, that widget, every single step of the way. And the more you touch it, the more accurate your inventory will be, the less discrepancies you'll have, the more efficient your physical counts can be, your receipt of goods, and you can really, truly separate out that process. So let's kind of go with the whole ploy of I have my sales order. Maybe I've manufactured the goods, now they're ready to ship. So let's talk about the different ways that we can ship, right? So we do have a true robust system. Our standard package has the standard shipping and invoicing data entry. Great. That's what we call in our industry pick, pack, ship. So you have an order, you pull the goods, you pack them in a box, you send it out the door. Great. And that's good for most systems. And, there's no wrong way to do it. There's just a better method depending on the type of order and how your warehouse is set up. We really like to try to separate out those tasks. You have pickers pick, you have shippers ship. And the more you separate up those tasks and give ownership to that individual person, not only do they feel enlightened, but they feel that they have priority and that, they will actually stick to their task, right? So what are the different benefits of our shipping? So we have a directed picking application, all right? So not only can you pick an order, but you can multi-pick an order. You can pick across multiple orders. We even have a quick picking option to let you go through and pick what we call smalls, right? Smaller orders, quickly pick that are repetitive, where you don't have to meander across a warehouse. But for those larger orders, we offer where you're not going to have a way where you're not going to be zigzagging all over the place, right? We actually will take you to a specific bin to scan a specific item, to scan a specific quantity, telling you what to get, where to get, when to get it, and where to put it. And so literally, if you can dial a phone, you can use our product. It walks them through every step of the way. It's a simple solution where it's really just kind of fill in the blank. As far as, and then through our ACS multi-bin, so let's say you have this huge order. Well, you need multiple hands on deck to do that. So we have a true enhanced wave batch option that allows you to assign and split orders to certain users, to certain warehouses, to pick certain items. Well, let's say you're throwing these on a pallet. Well, great. Well, we have a bin option where you could put individual items, or we can throw everything on a pallet, treat it as one great item, and move that pallet with all the goods on it, all the lots, all the serial numbers, in one fell swoop. Okay? As I mentioned before, we have multi-user picking through Wave Batch. But we also have multi-user shipping. So it'll allow, Susie, Bobby, Johnny to all kind of gather hands together, process an order, and as opposed to one person doing it and spending extra time on it. I also mentioned that we have a quick ship option. So once an order's picked, you can process through the normal shipping data entry where you can, it's more like a double scan process, which, at the end of today with some time allotment, we'll go through that. Or you can simply just scan a sales order number and send it right through to invoicing or shipping data entry. As far as pack slips, big thing for customers, right? So you want to know what's in the boxes in the shipment. So we have a whole auto pack slip option. So as soon as the sales order shipped and it passes through the import back into Sage through the barcode module, immediately we can print out a sales order. Pardon me, fire engines are going by. So we can immediately create a pack slip and it sends it right through, prints it out right next to your shipping station. You put it in a little sleeve, put it on the pallet or on the boxes, and out the door it goes. And again, once all that's created and collected, immediately goes back into Sage where it gets posted and an invoice off to your customer. And then we also have a integration for those that are doing Mapadoc and need ASN labels for your EDI customers. We have a complete Mapadoc suite that allows us to have direct integration with Mapadoc. For those Mapadoc orders, we can create and auto-generate ASN labels from the handheld. And with also ASN label creation, we also have a whole printing suite that allows you to print labels ahead of time through our MP2 software, or we have a printing solution called SkyPrint that allows you to print invoice or item labels from time of receipt to time of shipment, and even item inquiry and kind of anywhere in between. So as I mentioned before, once you've implemented this thing, well, how do we kind of keep people on task, right? Well, from a warehouse manager's perspective, you can go up to each individual person and really kind of micromanage each individual person. But if they're busy doing their task all day long, you really don't want to bother them. You want to kind of set them on their tasks and let them do their thing. So now you can sit back at your desk, kick up your feet, grab your cup of coffee, and use our dashboard utilities. So this is really one of my new favorite tools that we have, and we've just recently enhanced it too, and I'll explain that in just a moment. But we have dashboard utilities not only for inventory movement for distribution, but we also have dashboard utilities for manufacturing, right? So let's talk a little bit about the dashboard for distribution. So if you can see my screen, I've got a screenshot here of two things. On the left is the actual dashboard utility. So this lets you not only see the present, what's going on, right, but also look at the past. So let's talk a little bit about the present and what the dashboard utility offers. So not only can you see open purchase orders, not only can you see open sales orders, but you can see inventory across all warehouses and all bins. Because let's face it, Sage is great for doing the accounting perspective and creating the orders, but if you really want to get a true WMS overview, right, a whole distribution overview to see what's going on, you're going to spend half your time clicking around on those little yellow folders all day long, getting the plus signs and going here and looking up and creating crystal reports, and it gets a bit tedious, right? So we kind of want to put this all in one mouse click at your fingertips. So this lets you, we take all the good things about Sage and put them in one nice, neat little package without having to go fiddle around inside of Sage, right? So like I said, you can see all open orders, items, sales orders, but you can see currently who's working on what, right? So you can see who's shipping, who's picking, who's invoicing, who's taking a nap, who's doing transfers, all in real time. So that's great, okay? But let's say you want to make this even more efficient and see, where productivity is maybe lacking. So we have a whole reporting tool where, we automatically export to a CSV file, but it lets you build a report based on the who, the what, the where, the when, why, and how, okay? And you can go back a week, a month, a year ago, and sort it out by items, by users. We even have a timetable or timestamp, so it shows when the user started and when they stopped, how long it took them to process orders. We recently added pie charts, because really, honestly, who doesn't love a good pie chart? So as far as the reporting functionality, but we have a new function we just added called Assign to Order. And this lets you take individual orders for PO, sales orders, and picking, and assign them to individual users, okay? And then, let's face it, no one talks on the phone anymore. Everyone's text messaging now, right? So we decided, why not build an instant messaging tool into there, because it's the most efficient way for people to communicate. Instead of having to be paged and go across the warehouse to pick up a phone. So now we have a whole messaging utility that lets you as an administrator individually message a person. Let the people in the warehouse communicate with each other. As well as, I think we now do support emojis, believe it or not. So if you need to get them on something, you can put a little angry face. But anyway, so I mean, we have messaging, reporting, and dashboard all wrapped in one nice, neat little package on the distribution side. But we also have it on the manufacturing side. Okay, so you can see labor tracking, parts usage, status on an order. If you're doing made to stock, it has a whole shop floor monitor, right? So not only can this be run from the shop floor computer, but it can also be run from the management computer as well. And these are all PC-based programs, and we can install them in as many different computers as you'd like. So, we've taken it from entry to exit and made it as efficient as possible and tracked it through as much as possible. So at the end of the day, we've cut down on extra fees, angry customers, because we all know it's a lot less expensive to keep a customer happy than it is to acquire a new one, right? So that's our goal, is to have a happy workforce, right? Because if they're all trying to read each other's handwriting and all not too happy with each other, it just doesn't make for a very kosher work environment. So after that, I'm going to hand it over to Miss Patty, and she's going to take it over there from the credit card processing.
Thank you, Ross.
Oh, you're welcome.
And thank you, Adrian, for such a wonderful introduction as well. Ladies and gentlemen, I just want to follow through on what Ross was explaining and show you a little bit about how American Payment Solutions is actually able to take advantage of the data fields that Scanco is actually bringing into Sage 100 for you through their different applications, through multi-bin or the work order enhancement, and how we're able to take advantage of it in order to guarantee the very lowest rates that Visa and MasterCard offer our merchants. Those rates are actually provided via level 3 processing, and I'll explain a little bit about it throughout the presentation. I'll explain the fields that are required, and I'll show you exactly how and when we take those fields and qualify your transactions to receive the very lowest rates possible without you having to do anything different within your process. So I'd like to begin by just explaining a little bit about who actually receives the fees. The card issuers, the card brands, and of course the independent sales organizations such as ourselves. The card issuers will provide interchange fees, international fees, and AVS. These are standardized fees. None of the independent sales organizations or ISOs or processors have any sort of control over that. The card brands will include assessment fees and the others that you see on the list. I won't have to read through them. I just want to give you an idea of where exactly a credit card processing company will have control over what additional fees or what fees to take away from any particular merchant. So anything the card issuers or the card brands are issuing, we really have no control in their standardized fees. Now, the fees that you see where the ISOs are concerned, you can see there are sales discounts, authorization, transaction, batch fees, PCI compliance fees, etc., etc. This is where we, as credit card processors, have full control over deciding exactly which of these fees we will apply to our merchants. And this is where we stand out from the crowd. We actually provide our rates in writing, for example, and we do not charge the PCI compliance support or authorization and transaction batch fees. We basically would charge you upon the capture, and you would get a statement gateway fee, which is always the same regardless of your volume. And we do have a minimum fee, but we're very flexible with that, especially for companies who have particular seasons when they're using the credit card payments and seasons when they are not. So what type of fee structures are out there? There are 3 different fee structures: flat rate, tiered pricing, and interchange. Now you can see on the screen a little bit of the differences between each one of these rate structures, but I'll tell you in a nutshell the advantages and disadvantages. So most people prefer the flat rate structure because it's simple, easy to understand. You don't have to worry about any changes, any variation in the rates. The setback here is the fact that you are missing out on any of the programs offered by the credit card companies to lower your rates. And one of those programs is Level 3 Processing. Level 3 Processing consists, or was offered back in 2008, for any business-to-business or business-to-government transaction that was processed within the continental U.S. Visa and MasterCard do require 13 to 16 fields in order to qualify a transaction for Level 3 rates, but I will show you exactly why it is so important that we have this partnership with Scanco and the solutions they provide. It mainly has to do with the fact that they gather these required fields for us, place them into Sage 100, and we automatically send them to Visa and MasterCard, guaranteeing the best rate possible for you. The next fee structure would be the tiered pricing. This is really confusing because it depends on the fully qualified, mid-qualified, or non-qualified rates. So there's a lot of variables involved here, and it's really hard to keep track of. Very confusing. Interchange plus, this is where the merchant pays the hard costs associated with each transaction. So we take exactly what Visa and MasterCard are offering, and then we add a markup fee, which is a transaction fee. That's the most simple, transparent type of structure because there's no way for a processor to hide their additional fees, quote unquote. This is the best way for you to keep any processor on their toes. Demand Interchange Plus, and you will know exactly what it is Visa and MasterCard is charging, and then exactly what your processor is charging you. So remember I mentioned Level 3 processing. As I mentioned at the beginning, Level 3 processing is definitely for companies that are processing business-to-business or business-to-government transactions. We've created a Level 3 gateway into our Sage 100 and other ERP systems, which is already widely used throughout the United States. We also offer PCI compliant security at absolutely no charge to you, and then you can see point-to-point encryption, tokenization. We take care of all of the security levels, and we make sure that you as an end user do not have to worry about keying in any extra data or having to fill in any information for your PCI compliance that you'd have to turn in at a later time. We actually go through all of this with you at no charge. So on the screen, you'll see the different required fields that Visa and MasterCard request in order to provide that Level 3 rate that I mentioned. So just so you get an idea, Level 3 rates, if typically your rate is 2.65, Level 3 will bring it down to 1.85, and in some cases I've seen the rate go down as far as 0.05 depending on the volume of the transaction. Once again, this is without you having to do anything at all. We take care of everything in the background for you. So here's a sample statement I just want you to view, because one of the biggest complaints we get from our merchants is how confusing statements are with other processors. We typically like to show you a summary of the transactions, and then we outline in detail each transaction, the type of credit card, the rate, and the transaction fee. So you know exactly who is charging you for what and how much. Just so you get an idea of the level of savings that have to do with Level 3 processing, this is an actual analysis to one of our merchants. And in this situation, for example, you'll see the current fees at the very top. Notice how the rate is 0.8% for Visa, MasterCard, and Discover, 0.0% for American Express, which also brings me to American Express Opt Blue, which also guarantees the lowest rates from American Express for you. Now, in this case, the total fees would have been $6,715, and this was using the existing processor. Now, notice how towards the bottom, the proposed fees, the rate continues to be 0.08. However, the transaction fee went down to 0.8 cents, and In this case, what happened, and we found out, is that the current processor was actually charging a transaction fee when someone pre-authorized, and then another transaction fee at the time of capture, which is something that we do not do. In this particular scenario, our fees would have been $5,696, which would be a savings of well over $1,000 a month and an annualized savings of a little bit over $12,000. So this is just so you get an idea of how we analyze and how we come up with the savings. A lot of this had to do with level 3 processing and the rates going down for this particular merchant. Some of the items that differentiate us from other processors, definitely the pricing structure that I discussed with you on the previous slides. We definitely go with Interchange Plus. With other processors, this will vary, and then you'll never know the exact rate. And if you do have the flat fees, you'll never be able to take advantage of the lower rates. We provide chargeback assistance at no charge. Other processors will typically charge $3.95 per month. We charge a monthly fee of $15 for gateway and statements. That is it, regardless of your volume. Many other processors will charge you more depending on your volume. We provide assistance with PCI compliance at absolutely no charge, and we have noticed that other processors will charge $75 to $100 a year, plus, in some cases, a non-compliance fee of $35 a month. Now, this can all add up. We do not charge for module installation, implementation, setup, maintenance, or support. Other processors will charge, it varies in some cases. They also charge an integration fee of up to 0.5% depending on the volume. And here's where level 3 as well as the time for you to receive the funds matters. Our batch funding time is literally 1 business day. Most processors will promise next day funding, and what they really mean is 24-hour funding or 2 business day funding. With us, once you batch out at 9 p.m. Eastern time, you'll receive the funds in your bank account the next morning before 9 a.m. So that's just so you get an idea of a quick comparison. Now what I'd like to do, speaking of the sales order that Ross was mentioning, I'm just going to jump into a quick sales order in Sage 100 and show you how easy it is to process a credit card transaction. We follow Sage's guidelines as far as your security settings and your user count. You're actually able to save as many credit cards per customer as you need, and you'll notice that we will save only the last 4 digits of each credit card due to PCI compliance. Every time you process a transaction, we will email a receipt to the email address under the billing address for the card. I have credit card Visa set as a default, but based on my security settings, I can change to another credit card, add a credit card on the fly, or edit this credit card. I can also process payment pre-post authorizations or process a deposit sale. I do not have to go through the pre-authorization process. Now, for those of you that do take advantage of the pre-authorization functionality, what we offer that makes us different from everybody else is the length of time in which a pre-authorization can be valid. And that length of time would be anywhere between 7 and 30 days. Yes, you do not have the limitation of 7 days anymore. It can go all the way up to 30 days, and you won't have to worry about pre-authorizing. So let's say in this case, I'm going to go ahead and pre-authorize. The items that Scanco had scanned in and through multi-bin are already in my sales order for me. If the shipping was already calculated, it would show up here. Otherwise, you can actually add it at the time of capture. So I apologize for that. All I have to do now is submit the card, and I could do this individually, or I can submit the card or process in batch. So I'm going to go ahead and submit this card, and you'll notice, sorry about that, and you'll notice the APS window will come up. And it should come up now, hopefully. Here it is. And it will ask you for a validation code. It will also show the default credit card information, reference your sales order number, so you're able to process the transaction without having to key in your credit card information again. I'm going to go ahead and submit my transaction. It will now go through our gateway, verify your credit card information is correct, verify the CVV or validation code is a match, and you are done. This credit card transaction has been pre-authorized. You'll notice a transaction ID which is coming directly from our portal. And let me just show you what this transaction looks like within our portal. What you see on the screen right now is the APS portal. It has a very robust reporting capability. We make it impossible for you not to find a transaction. We make it almost impossible. And what I'd like to show you now is the transaction that we just processed, which is this very last one. You'll notice that it's pending capture. It will reference the sales order number from Sage, and the transaction ID here is the exact same transaction ID you saw within Sage. Notice how we will show you your customer information, credit card information, and the items being sold, as well as shipping fee from your sales order. And here's the transaction ID. So at this stage, we have pre-authorized. We can wait 30 days to capture. I'm going to go ahead and hand it back over to you, Ross, and I'll come back as soon as it's time to capture once again.
Thank you, Patty. Well, just if you didn't get enough of me before, I'm back. So just like Patty said, we had the order, we processed it, we took it. So I'm going to, on the left-hand side is the dashboard I was discussing with you earlier, and on the right-hand side is our Scanco software. Now, one thing I didn't mention earlier, which is quite unique to our software, is once a user logs into the software with their individual user ID and password, it immediately goes out in milliseconds and validates them as a user that's valid, and it brings over their settings from our portal, okay? What's nice about our portal is you can really individually customize or tailor the transactions to that individual user. So if you received or only receives, maybe just give them receiving an item inquiry, shipper ships, picker picks, etc. I think you get the gist. So as you noticed here in the dashboard, as I mentioned before, we have all kinds of different tabs, right? And again, this can be customized to your warehouse and to your transaction. So we have wave batch picking, receiving, purchase orders, etc. What's nice is if I go to my sales order list, here's the sales order that was created in Sage 434, same one Patty was just working on. If I right-click on it, we do have an option to assign to order, where you can assign to ship or assign to pick. And as soon as that's done, immediately on the handheld, you'll see my two icons here. I have shipping and I have picking. Picking icon has a 1 next to it, so does the shipping. That means I had orders assigned to that particular user. So in this case, let's talk about the picking process, right? So we go to the picking, and I have my picking option menu here. And just as I mentioned before, we have everything from wave picking to quick picking to confirm picks, which has to do with allocations, invoice picking, ship pick, wave batch, that sort of stuff. So let's talk about the initial picking of the order. My two main choices are wave and order. In this case, I'm just going to do a single order pick. So I'll go to order picking. I'm going to choose my warehouse that I'm picking. And again, anytime you see a blank red box, that means you can look something up, type it in, or scan it. We are a barcode company. We like to be as efficient as possible, so let's go ahead and scan things, when we're allowed. So what's really unique about our product is you'll notice the staging bin. So when we're doing an order, the picking process is simply creating the allocation, or we like to think of it as a lateral movement from one place to another, and where it's going to be held at or kind of corralled at until it's being ready to be shipped. And again, you don't have to pick an order all in completion. Maybe half of it's being manufactured. So you can pick upon availability and continuously pick against it, because the picking process doesn't deplete inventory from your Sage system. It simply just moves it from one place to another, and it's still there. So it's going to go ahead and choose our staging bin. And next, we'll go ahead and create our sales order number. Now, let's say I didn't have a barcoded crystal report in front of me, a pick ticket. I'm going to do everything paperless. Well, if I go to my little magnifying glass, I'll see a list of orders that I can pick, right? This is all the orders that are open in Sage. But the one I'm concerned about is the one that's assigned to me. And all the ones that are assigned to those users will be green. So I'll go ahead and select it. Remember, this is a completely directed solution. So not only do we tell you a little bit of info about that order, right, kind of a little menu ahead of time, or an index, so to speak, but we're going to go ahead and then direct the user. So remember, this is directed picking. So we're going to go, the user is going to be directed to this bin, and they're going to go ahead and scan this item. It's going to validate the items on the list, and it's going to ask them how many they want to pick. So it's going to go ahead and pick 4 of the order, okay? Let's go ahead and hit done. We'll go ahead and send this back into Sage. That is correct. And remember, everything we're doing right now is writing back to the sales order detail level. So if we were to pull back open that sales order in Sage, for time purposes, we'll just kind of move along. But there'll be a detailed on the lot distribution table that'll show you where that item is staged, the holding area, and how many that have been allocated. So once we're done picking the order, it's ready to process and ship. So we offer 2 unique ways to make this as efficient as possible. Way number 1 is under our shipping option, which we give you standard shipping or invoicing data entry. You also can ship an order complete or have directed shipping. You can even add items to a sales order. But in this case, we're going to stick with standard shipping data entry. Okay, this lets you keep track of items on the box detail level and lets the user rescan an order completely. So the method is scan once to pick, scan twice to pack. But for today's purpose, we're going to go back to picking, and we offer a unique method called invoice or ship picked. So if I go to ship picked, this is shipping data entry. It's going to make me collect my shipper ID, and it's going to go ahead and make me collect my sales order number. Now, what's unique about this perspective is if I hit lookup here, it's going to show me not every sales order in Sage, but it's going to show me every single sales order that has been picked only, okay? So even if I went back here into the dashboard, I went to wave order picking, I could see that order 434, the order that I was in history, has been picked, okay? Here's the line item, here's the quantities that have been picked, etc. So once I go back here, I'm going to select the order, and it's going to ask me 3 questions. First one is, do I want to cancel this? Do I want to review it to see what's on the order? Or do I want to submit it directly to shipping? So let's say I want to submit it directly to shipping. I confirm, I hit yes. And by the modern magic of the unattended import, if I go back into shipping data entry in Sage, pull back open my shipper ID, and punch in the sales order number, I'll see that this order has now been shipped. It's now a shipment invoice, and there's my item, there's the original order, and there's actually what's been shipped. So now it's sitting as an invoice, and then once that's been done, I'll go ahead and let Patty pick up from here.
Thank you, Ross.
Oh, you're welcome.
So at this point, now that the items are picked and ready to ship, and you've seen ScanCo has handled everything along the way, I'm just going to go ahead and say ship all. And you'll notice it looks slightly different because we're using different systems, but just to keep it in a nice workflow, the items would have already been here, and I'm ready to ship them. My shipping fee is already there. I can change it at this point if I needed to, if for any reason the shipping was different. And now all I did was go into sales order invoice data entry, and I'm going to go ahead and update Sage 100. Now, updating Sage 100 is your typical end of day, your typical update. There's really nothing different about it. Once I update Sage 100, it will not only update the modules, the relevant modules that I'm integrated to, but it will also update and capture the funds. It will update my portal to reflect the fact that the funds have been captured. At that point, your customer will also receive a receipt indicating the transaction has been completed, the funds have been captured, and you will, in 12 hours or the next day before 9 a.m., receive the funds in your bank account without any of the fees being deducted. So it's important for you to know that we do not touch any of the funds. You will receive them exactly as you process them. You will see the funds or the fees at the end of the month when you receive your statement. While I'm updating, and please excuse my update, it takes forever, I would like to mention a very special promotion that American Payment Solutions would like to offer everyone who is attending this webinar. So please, if you weren't listening really good up until now, leave everything, put everything to the side and hear this promotion. American Payment Solutions is willing to pay up to 100% of the ScanCo solution. All we ask is that you allow us to analyze your statements, and based on the volume of your statements, we will be able to determine exactly what percentage of the solution we'll be able to pay for. So say, for example, we're able to save $3,000 a year. Instead of making you wait the year for the $3,000, we will pay that cash out to ScanCo so that you can purchase the solution. And this offer is valid only through December 31st. So if you're interested in any of the ScanCo solutions that were mentioned in this webinar, please be sure to tell your ScanCo representative or your Sage reseller and mention this webinar. The recording is going to be sent to you so you have proof that the promotion is valid, and or contact me or anyone at my company, and we'll be happy to provide you with assistance. Once again, all we need from you is your most current merchant statements. If you're processing with Sage Payments, 1 month will do. Any other processor, we will need 3 months of your most current merchant statements. Also, include American Express if possible, and we will be able to provide you with a free analysis of your current rates and fees. We guarantee to beat or match any processor out there, and if we're not able to beat or match, we will give you $500 simply for allowing us to analyze your statements. So please, everybody, keep that in mind. We're definitely here to help, and we want to make sure that you take advantage, once again, of the automated functionality, not just the level 3 and the rates, but the automated functionality that ScanCo is offering you through the different solutions. And with that, I pretty much completed my transaction. Notice how in Sage 100, you will see that it's been paid by credit card. And if you drill down on the transaction, you'll also be able to see the transaction ID that's coming from our portal. If you go back to our portal, here's the transaction. And if you go back to our portal, you'll also be able to confirm the transaction has been captured. It will no longer say pending capture or pre-authorized. It will actually say that it's been completed and captured, and instead of referencing a sales order number, it will reference the actual invoice number from Sage. So this is our transaction now. Notice how instead of a sales order, it'll now show you an invoice. And this pretty much concludes my side of the presentation. I'd like to leave you with our promotion. Remember, $500 if we're not able to beat or match, and then the promotion with regards to ScanCo. Ross, I don't know if you'd like me to switch back to your screen or if there's anything else that you'd like to add.
No, I'm all set, but while you're being very generous, can I send you my Christmas shopping list as well? Well, it was a pleasure working with you on this one. And I think, Adrian, you're going to ask if there's any questions or anything from anybody?
Yes, let me unmute myself first.
There we go.
I do have a poll up. If I can just ask everybody out there, if you could just take a moment to answer this poll, that would be great. Are you interested in learning more about any of the following? Obviously, the credit card processing or the one software solution, which is the ScanCo WMS solution that was presented today. Patty, that's an awesome promotion that you've got there. That really works well for the two of you. And Patty, I don't know, could you just review some of the success stories that you've had with Sage customers that have opted into your solution?
Absolutely. It's my pleasure to share this information with you. A little bit about my background is that I used to work for Sage resellers for about 18 years. So I know a lot of the differences between our solution and the Sage solution. And the main difference has definitely been level 3 processing. Several times I've encountered a savings of over $100,000 a year simply because we have turned on the level 3 processing. Now, the one thing I keep hearing is, yeah, other processors offer it. Here's the difference. When someone else is offering it, they'll tell you, we need you to key in some of the fields. And I ask my clients, do you really have time to key in 13 to 16 fields every time you process a credit card transaction? If the answer is no, then that processor is not the one for you. You have to find someone that can automate the process for you. And that goes from start to finish. We are very picky about who we partner with, which is the reason we only partner with the best, and which is the reason we partnered with Scanco. As you can see throughout the presentation, it's all about automation. No more extra fees and no more angry customers. That goes across the board from the beginning or from the moment a customer contacts you to the moment they leave with their merchandise and are a happy customer.
And Patty, what are some of the savings that you've been able to? Wasn't there somebody that had saved over hundreds of thousands of dollars, or at least $100,000? I think I heard in the past.
Yes, it's actually been $112,000, and I'll tell you, this was actually a Chase Payment Tech client, and in this particular case, there was a $50,000 cancellation fee. Now, we typically offer to pay your cancellation fees up to 100% of the cancellation fees. After that, we've been very cautious because once we make a promise, we will definitely keep it. We paid the $50,000. We were actually able to negotiate it down to $30,000. In most cases, the fees are only $500, $2,500, and we're happy to pay them, but we're very cautious now. We ask before we promise, and we tell you that we can pay up to 100%, but we want to know how much that cancellation fee is before we commit to paying it. 99.9% of the time, we do pay 100%.
And what is the cost of Scanco or one software solution? Just a range.
It's tough to whoever's got that question can certainly come to me afterwards. I mean, it really depends on how many users and what you're wanting to offer. It could start in the $20,000 range, $30,000 range. It could be less. It really depends on how much you want to get out of it. We'll give you as much as you want to get out of it. So, for those true cost things, please come to us afterwards, and we kind of go into some one-on-one things, and that way I just don't want to mislead you with some numbers that it could be, less or more depending on your needs.
And I see that 14% of you have voted on this poll. If we could get some more votes, that would be awesome. Thank you so much for taking time out to do that. And let's see, do we have any other questions? Oh, what if you already have one software solution? Is there another promotion to take advantage of, Patty?
We are very flexible as far as the promotions. We typically do discuss them with your reseller, but I'll tell you that some of the promotions that we've offered, depending on your reseller, would be 4 hours of consulting time with your reseller, assistance with paying for your Sage upgrade, or if you're interested in any other third party, we would typically contact that third party and also discuss the promotion with them before we can commit to offering it. But tons of flexibility. If you're interested, let me know. If there's any product in particular that you're interested in, absolutely let me know, and I'll be happy to work with you on a promotion for that.
And I'm not seeing any other questions at this moment. I'm going to leave this poll up. I see that 17% of you have voted. And I'm going to leave this poll up for another minute or so and see if any other questions come in, but I'm not seeing any at this moment.
And I believe you provided everyone with our contact information, but yeah, directly email me at ross@scanco.com. Sounds like there's some of our current customers already on this already, and so please contact us. We're always bringing out some new bells and whistles, so to speak, especially when it comes to a recent release of a lot of our manufacturing aspects. A lot of our new dashboard utilities and some other neat bells and whistles that we're coming out with. So please contact me, and be glad to go over some of that with you.
And Ross, we've had a lot of interest for one software solution over here, people that might already own Scanco but are interested in the manufacturing or the multi-bin. Could you maybe just review for everybody how that all works if they already own Scanco prior to your alliances?
Yes, we like to be, one-stop shop. So a lot of my customers that are just new to the warehousing world, maybe due to budget or maybe just due to size or as they grow, we have a true product that does grow with you, right? So you're just not stuck in this one little stagnant thing, and that's all you're ever going to get. So certainly, I mean, if you own our standard warehouse solution, but maybe a little bit down the road, you think, man, I've grown, I need multi-bin now. I just can't handle, just putting everything in one warehouse. I need to break it up. We can get on your ACS solution. So like one-stop shop. As far as manufacturing, let's say, you're starting to get manufacturing. I have a lot of warehouse customers now that are starting to buy the work order module, and they're new to manufacturing. Well, we can help educate you and get you into that. Please come to us. I mean, we look at it from a consultant perspective, and we'll look at a process analysis and really help you, get you exactly what you need.
And I did launch another poll for you up there. If you could just take a second to answer this one. Are you currently using any of the following solutions, APS or One Software? That would be great as well. And we just once again appreciate you taking time with us today. We know an hour is hard to come by. And thank you, Patty and Ross, for all the information. We really appreciate your presentation.
Thank you. And have a good holiday season if I don't speak with you as well. So thank you all very much, and appreciate it, and look forward to hearing from you.
All right, take care, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
All right,
happy holidays.
Bye-bye.